In episode 54, Contingency, Fallback, and Triggers, we examine how preparation transforms risk from surprise into speed. Projects rarely fail from the unknown itself. They fail because no one was ready to act when the known became real. Preparedness shortens reaction time and lowers emotional temperature. It replaces panic with choreography. By planning contingencies, defining fallbacks, and setting precise triggers, you create a structured bridge between foresight and execution. The goal is not to predict every detail, but to ensure the team can respond coherently under pressure. Readiness does not eliminate uncertainty. It converts it into controlled momentum. A contingency is a planned action that activates only if defined conditions occur. It lives between strategy and reaction. Designed in calm, executed in stress. Contingencies might include rerouting shipments, invoking alternate suppliers, or switching to remote operations during disruption. Each plan should specify activation triggers, decision authority, and resource requirements. Well-designed contingencies feel rehearsed yet flexible. They tell the organization, "We have already thought this through." The best ones are neither rigid checklists nor vague intentions. They are tailored responses ready to move when signals turn from theory to reality. Fallback plans, by contrast, are the deliberate Plan B options that replace the original approach when it fails outright. Where contingency protects continuity, fallback restores function. If a software deployment collapses, the fallback might be reverting to the previous stable version. If a site loses power, the fallback may be relocating operations to a backup facility. The key distinction is scope. Fallback assumes Plan A cannot proceed, so the focus shifts to survival and continuity. Effective fallbacks are prioritized, resourced, and rehearsed, not invented on the spot. They are the safety net beneath the contingency ladder. Triggers are the observable conditions that tell you when to act. Without them, teams hesitate or overreact. A trigger must be specific, measurable, and visible to those responsible for action. It might be a percentage of budget burn, a delay threshold, or a performance metric crossing a boundary. Each trigger should connect directly to an appetite limit, the point beyond which leadership is no longer comfortable with exposure. When triggers are clearly defined and published, they replace confusion with confidence. Everyone knows what to watch and what to do when the threshold is reached. Thresholds should align with the organization's appetite and tolerance. Too tight, and you trigger responses prematurely, wasting effort. Too loose, and you lose precious time. Calibrating thresholds requires dialogue between risk owners, project managers, and executives. The aim is to set boundaries that feel responsible, not fearful. Document the rationale so that during review, no one wonders whether the decision was arbitrary. By tying activation points to agreed appetites, you embed risk governance into operational reflex. The system responds automatically because alignment was built ahead of crisis. Pre-approving budgets and authority levels makes contingency viable in practice. No plan can move faster than its funding or permission chain. Establish what actions can be executed immediately, what costs are authorized without additional approval, and which thresholds require executive confirmation. The faster the response window, the more autonomy must be pre-granted. For example, supply chain leads might hold limited authority to commit alternate carriers within a cost ceiling. Pre-approved authority prevents escalation paralysis and empowers local decision-making. Speed becomes a function of trust built in advance, not improvisation under stress. Material readiness is as vital as procedural readiness. Stage the physical and contractual components of contingencies before they are needed. This includes backup equipment, spare licenses, pre-negotiated service agreements, and rapid access credentials. If these elements are missing when triggers fire, plans turn theoretical. Staging does not mean overstocking, it means positioning essentials within reach. Contracts should contain dormant clauses that activate instantly, such as fixed rates or expedited service options. The goal is frictionless mobilization, where response starts with execution rather than procurement. Drill activation steps with stakeholders so the first use is not the first practice. Tabletop exercises, walkthroughs, or simulations reveal misunderstandings that documentation hides. They test both the plan's logic and the team's coordination. Participants should experience the tempo of decision-making, communication flow, and handoffs. Drills also strengthen relationships. People trust what they have tested together. After each rehearsal, debrief candidly. What went smoothly, what slowed response, and what signals were missed. The confidence gained from drills pays dividends when the real event arrives, and hesitation could cost hours or credibility. Time-boxing decisions under pressure keeps crisis energy from fracturing judgment. When a trigger fires, emotions rise and discussions can spiral. Establish decision windows, how long a response team has to assess data, consult stakeholders, and act. A 1-hour window for critical issues or a 24-hour window for non-urgent triggers provides structure. Time boxing focuses attention and prevents analysis paralysis. It also creates predictability for communication, as others know when updates will come. Discipline in timing is as valuable as the decision itself because it maintains pace amid uncertainty. Clear communication during activation is the difference between coordination and chaos. Status messages should explain what triggered, what actions are underway, who is leading, and what outcomes to expect next. Use simple, factual language, avoid speculation. Update regularly, even if the message is no change. Transparency calms stakeholders and reduces redundant inquiries. Communication should also include defined shutdown criteria, when to stop contingency measures and resume normal operations. By controlling the information flow, leaders control anxiety and maintain trust even when events are still unfolding. Deactivation and recovery are as deliberate as activation. Once conditions return to normal, disengage contingency measures carefully to avoid whiplash effects. Shut down temporary contracts, replenish reserves, and restore standard governance. Debrief participants while memory is fresh to identify fatigue points and process gaps. Smooth recovery signals professionalism and prevents small errors from lingering after the storm passes. Transitioning back to baseline is part of readiness too. It demonstrates that resilience includes both quick action and graceful return. Capture performance metrics during activations to measure effectiveness. How quickly was the trigger detected, decision made, and action implemented? How much exposure was avoided, and what residual effects remained? Collect both quantitative and qualitative feedback from participants. Metrics turn stories into data that support improvement. They also validate resource investment in readiness programs. Over time, these records form an empirical foundation for refining thresholds, training, and budgets. Measurement turns crisis memory into institutional learning, protecting against both repetition and complacency. Update plans after each activation or drill with the lessons learned. Adjust triggers that fired too early or too late. Clarify roles that overlapped and document successful innovations discovered on the fly. Readiness is not a static manual, it is a living capability. Continual refinement ensures relevance as technologies, teams, and environments change. A plan that evolves faster than its risks stays credible. Without updates, even good systems drift into irrelevance. Regular review turns preparedness from a document into an organizational reflex. Readiness converts risk into speed. When contingencies are planned, fallbacks rehearsed, and triggers calibrated, the organization no longer scrambles, it maneuvers. Preparedness turns chaos into choreography, compressing decision time and preserving confidence. It transforms the narrative from "we reacted" to "we executed." The essence of resilience is not avoiding impact, but recovering faster than disruption spreads. Contingency, fallback, and trigger discipline make that acceleration possible, proving that foresight's greatest gift is time reclaimed when it matters most. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit BareMetalCyber.com.